Security cameras make our lives safer and help to solve crimes, but sometimes they also record things that are simply strange, and sometimes even raise more questions than they answer. Welcome to Wonderlane, today with 5 recordings from security cameras that are really curious. We have some cases that have not been solved until today, as well as other videos that are just weird or embarrassing. Enjoy the video! Let's start with the mysterious case of Lars Mittank. The German Lars Mittank flew in the summer of 2014 with several friends to Bulgaria to make a week's vacation on the so-called Gold Beach. Shortly before the end of the trip, Lars got into a brawl with some football fans, who gave him a solid blow to the ear. Lars Mittank suffered a ruptured eardrum from this blow, so instead of flying home with his friends, he had to go to the hospital for treatment. The doctor gave him the antibiotic Cefsil 500, which is banned in Germany to prevent infections. Mittank spent the night in the hotel, and suddenly, a series of strange events began. He called his mother in a panic, telling her that he was being followed and that she should cancel his credit cards. In the morning, a cab driver reportedly found him waving wildly and took him to the airport. He wanted to fly home and phoned his mother, who ordered him a plane ticket. Before he could take the flight, however, he was to be examined by the flight physician to determine whether he was fit to fly at all. But after his 40-minute visit to the airport doctor, Lars Mittank suddenly ran out of the building and climbed over the several-meter-high airport fence. This security camera recording is the last recording of Lars until today. After many missing persons reports, a search call on Acton Zeichen XY, and numerous missions by private investigators in Bulgaria, Lars has still disappeared. The police are still looking for clues. The most common theory is that the drug triggered psychoses in Lars Mittank, through which his actions were influenced. However, these would be only temporary and would stop after some time again. But since the man from Germany was not found until today, a crime is not excluded. Let's move on to China, to the city of Jingtai. On an ordinary intersection in the city center, 2 white vans are driving towards a crosswalk. Suddenly, they swirl wildly through the air, as if they had been caught by a strong gust of wind. But, strangely enough, the same thing did not happen to the bystanders. They reported afterwards that there was no wind. The question was, what caused these 2 minivans and the car on the right to whirl through the air in such a strange way? Do you have any idea what could have happened to these cars? We solve it, because the video of the flying minivans in China is actually quite simple to explain. As it turned out, there was a cable on the road that got caught in the tire of a van. This was then pulled up, and the other cars were also stopped by the cable. Would you have thought that? Next, we have this video from a security camera showing an embarrassing, but not entirely unintentional fail. This woman ordered a pizza, but when the delivery man arrived, she just had a towel on. As she receives the pizza, suddenly happens what had to come. The towel falls, and the lady stands completely exposed in front of the pizza delivery man. He is amazed. What exactly he says to her, we cannot explain. But what we can say is that the mistake of the lady probably happened on purpose. Let's move on from one strange behavior to an even stranger one. Because what this person did on a busy road in Russia borders on craziness. In this video of a dashcam, we can see a truck that seemingly out of nowhere makes a big turn, but then reveals that on the road, a human was standing. This came out of nowhere, which led many conspiracy theorists to see the video as an evidence of teleportation. The person was said to be a time-traveling scientist who teleported right in front of the truck. But when a research site looked at the video, they found out that the video is real, but the person appears before. So the person does not appear just like that, but comes from the side and runs onto the street. This also explains the quick reaction of the truck driver. Let's continue with this video. The 28-year-old Richard Parasos wants to buy a can of Pepsi in a kiosk in the Canadian province of Alberta. However, the credit card he wants to pay with is not his own one and has been reported as stolen. When the cashier noticed this, he called the police. But instead of Richard and his girlfriend Brittany Bork surrendering to the police, they try to escape. When Richard almost got away, the clerk suddenly intervened and held the young man. He was able to break free and ran through the store. His girlfriend also managed to escape the policeman and tried to escape through the ventilation shaft, but that didn't quite work. She crashed through the ceiling and landed on a shelf in the store. The policeman caught them both and took them to the police station. Let's end our video with the most sinister case in our list. In February 2013, the 21-year-old Canadian student Elisa Lam was vacationing alone in Los Angeles. She stayed at the Cecil, a hotel that has a history of almost 100 years, and has been the scene of several murders, some of them unsolved. After a few days at the hotel, Lam suddenly disappeared without a trace, and police were unable to locate her in any of the hotel rooms. To inform the public of Lam's exact appearance, police released a video from a surveillance camera located in the hotel's elevator. In the video, Lam can be seen moving strangely towards the door, as if she was trying to hide from someone. After that, she leaves the elevator, comes back a little later. She presses a few buttons, waits, and then looks at the hotel corridor again. After that, she leaves the elevator again. Comes back in and presses several buttons. Then, suddenly, it becomes very strange. Elisa Lam gets out again and starts communicating with someone, making strange hand movements. The police were in the dark for a long time in their search for Elisa, but when suddenly some hotel guests started to complain about the water because it tasted strange and had a brownish color, the police had a new lead. They examined the water tanks of the building that were located on the roof. Sure enough, they found the body of the young student in one of the tanks. But the finding answered less questions than it raised new ones. Because the tank is absolutely inaccessible and several meters high, Elisa Lam would have never been able to get into the tank by herself, unless she had a ladder. But despite this, the police officers do not believe it was murder. Because Elisa had psychological problems, she had a bipolar disorder and often hallucinations, so the police justified at the end also her disappearance. But how Elisa got into the tank, or even onto the roof of the building, which can actually only be entered with a master key, is still unclear. Do you have any idea what really happened to Elisa? And what do you think about the case of Lars Mittank? Feel free to write your theories in the comments. We're really curious if you can find a logical explanation. That's it with Wonderlane for today. See you next time. Bye bye.